Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to Crime Zone.
Authorities in Cumberland County, North Carolina say that a 35-year-old man has been arrested this week after he allegedly stole a school bus and led police officers on an early morning slow-speed chase. According to reports, the incident took place just after 6 a.m. on December 9th as drivers at 71st High School in Fayetteville were warming up their buses due to the cold weather. It began when a man named Gilbert Lamont MacArthur started trying to force his way onto 3 different school buses, eventually making his way onto bus number 423. Once inside the bus, MacArthur reportedly forced the 70-year-old driver to get out before taking off in the school bus. Because the school bus had an onboard governor that stopped it from going more than 45 miles an hour, MacArthur was apparently easy to follow for police, who soon responded to reports that bus 423 had been stolen. Initially, it seemed like the chase might be over when the bus came to a stop at the intersection of Cliffdale and Skybow Roads and a Fayetteville police officer was able to get on board. However, MacArthur was reportedly undeterred by the officer's presence and continued to drive the bus with them inside. Police were finally able to force the bus to a stop a little further down Skybow Road, and MacArthur was taken into custody. Thankfully, no one was hurt, though authorities say things could have turned out far worse given the amount of traffic that morning. MacArthur has now been charged with common law robbery, second-degree kidnapping, and possession of stolen goods. At the time of this recording, he is held at the Cumberland County Detention Center on a $30,000 secure bond. It's believed that he may have been suffering some sort of mental health crisis at the time and allegedly told the 70-year-old driver he kicked off the bus that someone was after him.
Representatives from Ontario's Durham Regional Police say that a 36-year-old snowplow operator is facing charges for impaired driving and driving while exceeding the legal blood alcohol limit this week, after he was caught throwing snowballs at other motorists while on the job. According to reports, police were alerted to the incident shortly before 11 p.m. on Wednesday, when they received calls that a man driving a tractor with a snowplow attachment was throwing snowballs in a parking lot at Thixon Road and Stellar Drive in Whitby. When officers arrived, they learned that in addition to throwing the snowballs, the man had also been using his tractor to block vehicles into the parking lot. The man, who has been identified only as a 36-year-old from Oshawa, was promptly arrested, and testing revealed that his blood alcohol level was above the legal limit at the time of the incident. He was subsequently charged with impaired operation of a conveyance and operation of a conveyance 80 milligrams or above. Though the 36-year-old was apparently released ahead of his court date, thankfully, it appears that drivers don't need to worry about him getting back on the road for now. In addition to a 90-day license suspension, his tractor was also impounded for 7 days. At the time of this recording, it's unclear if the man was working independently or for a specific snow removal company when the incident took place. It's also not clear what started his bizarre behavior in the first place.
This week, representatives from New Hampshire's Bedford Police Department announced that they had recently arrested and charged a local woman after she was accused of hiding her mother's body in her home for nearly 6 months. According to reports, officers were first called to the home of 54-year-old Kimberly Heller on October 24th after family members requested a welfare check on her elderly mother who had not been seen in several months. No one was home at the time, so officers returned the next day, but when they did, they found Heller uncooperative. When Heller refused to let police inside to perform the welfare check on her mother, they obtained a search warrant and returned to the property. During that search, they recovered Heller's mother's body. Though an autopsy later determined that Heller's mother had died from natural causes, it was also determined that the woman had likely died sometime around Memorial Day in May. However, her Social Security checks had never stopped being deposited into her bank account. Heller was arrested in November and has since been charged with abuse of a corpse. At the time of this recording, investigators have not said whether Heller was using any of the money from these fraudulently deposited checks. Heller's arraignment is scheduled for January 6, 2022.
Authorities in Suffolk County, New York say that they have discovered the remains of a missing 38-year-old mother of 5 this week, nearly 3 weeks after she was last seen alive. According to reports, Melissa Molinari was last seen at her home on Lawley Lane in Centereach on November 21st. Her husband later claimed that she had left the house following an argument and had not returned. Immediately, there were things that did not add up about Melissa's disappearance. For starters, though her husband claimed that she had taken off of her own accord, her car had been left behind. Melissa had also failed to return home for the Thanksgiving holiday. Those that knew her said she never would have abandoned her children like that. Also, despite last being seen on November 21st, Melissa wasn't reported missing until December 2nd. Even then, the report had been made by a concerned friend, not her 43-year-old husband, Marcello Molinari. Sadly, after nearly 3 weeks of extensive searches, Melissa's lifeless body was found about an hour's drive from her home in the Rocky Point Pine Barrens State Forest on December 9th. She had reportedly been stabbed roughly 20 times and was found covered in towels and blankets. At the same time that news of Melissa's murder was reported, it was also announced that her husband Marcello had been arrested for her murder. Aside from his suspicious behavior around the time that his wife went missing, investigators say that a GPS tracking device placed Marcello in the state forest where Melissa's remains were discovered on November 23rd, and an examination of his cell phone showed that he had used the internet to search for countries without extradition agreements with the United States. Blood was also reportedly discovered in Marcello and Melissa's basement. According to reports, detectives believe that Marcello decided to murder his wife after discovering that she was having an affair during a recent trip to Disneyland. When they returned from the trip in early November, they were allegedly planning to get a divorce and sell the house. Melissa disappeared a little over 2 weeks later. At the time of this recording, Marcello Molinari remains in police custody and has been charged with second-degree murder.
A trio of would-be robbers allegedly got more than they bargained for this week when they attempted to violently steal money from a local pizza shop, and one of them was shot in the face. According to reports, the incident took place around 10 p.m. on December 9th when the three suspects walked into Bold Pizza in Philadelphia's Spring Garden neighborhood. After entering, the men allegedly tried to steal cash from the shop's register, and when an employee resisted, one of the men started to choke her. Within moments, the woman's 14-year-old son reportedly sprung into action, grabbing a handgun from below the counter and shooting the man who was choking his mom in the face. After that, all three suspects apparently ran. A short time later, police who responded to the incident were able to find the injured suspect in a nearby subway station by following a trail of blood. Authorities allegedly received further confirmation of the man's involvement when they found a large amount of stolen cash stuffed in his pocket. The suspect, who has only been identified as a 33-year-old man, was taken to the hospital, where he reportedly remains in critical condition. At the time of this recording, police say that they are still searching for the other two suspects involved in the attempted robbery. It's believed that the group might have also been involved in the robbery of a CVS drugstore about a block away from the pizza shop just a short time before. Anyone with information is encouraged to contact Philadelphia police.
Authorities in Las Vegas, Nevada, say that a 36-year-old man has been arrested and is facing charges this week after he reportedly rammed his vehicle into a secured area of a local airport and told people he had a bomb. According to reports, the incident began shortly before 7 p.m. on the evening of December 8th, when police received reports that a man in a limousine was performing donuts in the parking lot of an air carrier on East Reno Avenue. However, things soon escalated when the man rammed his vehicle through the security gates at the McCarran International Airport and began driving near planes located inside. When the man was confronted by airline employees, he stepped out of the limousine wearing a clown mask and began to yell that he had a bomb and he was going to blow up the airport. The threats prompted an evacuation of the premises until police could arrive to deal with the situation. After a short pursuit, police were able to stop the man and take him into custody. He has since been identified as 36-year-old Matthew Ray Hancock. When Hancock was arrested by police, he repeated his bomb threat, claiming he had a gasoline device in his car. He also demanded to be allowed to take one of the planes at the airport so that he could fly to Area 51 to look for aliens. Though the bomb squad had to be called in to investigate, thankfully it was revealed that there was nothing dangerous in Hancock's vehicle. The device he had referred to was actually an oxygen tank and a fire extinguisher, which had been covered in metal objects and Christmas lights. Upon further questioning, Hancock continued to make bizarre claims to police, saying among other things that he had high security clearance, ties to the mob, and that someone owed him millions of dollars. According to reports, it's believed that Hancock is the same person who was caught driving recklessly in a limo on November 11th. He was apparently cited for misdemeanor reckless driving after he was witnessed skidding through lanes on the Las Vegas Strip, barely missing other vehicles. Hancock has now been charged with making a false terror threat, causing dispersal with a hoax substance, and trespassing. His bail has been set at $150,000.
Authorities in Indian River County, Florida say that a 60-year-old woman has been arrested and charged this week after she led police on a wild car chase while drunk that ended on a golf course. According to reports, the incident began at approximately 1 p.m. on December 7th when officers from the Indian River County Sheriff's Office tried to pull over Jody Ann Harvey in Vero Beach. However, Harvey refused to stop driving and a chase began. Things soon took a harrowing turn when Harvey crashed through the gates of the Grand Harbor Golf Course, attempting to evade officers by driving across the property. As the chase continued, police dash cameras captured terrified golfers trying to run away from Harvey's vehicle as she recklessly drove through the course. The pursuit finally came to an end when police were able to box Harvey in on one of the golf course's fairways. After stopping, it appears that Harvey tried to make a phone call before she was promptly arrested. Harvey has now been charged with driving under the influence, 2 felony counts of criminal mischief, aggravated fleeing and eluding, aggravated assault on a law enforcement officer, and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Her bond has been set at $411,000.
Authorities in Troup County, Georgia say that they are one major step closer towards solving a 45-year-old missing persons case this week after a vehicle containing human remains was found submerged in an unnamed creek in Alabama. According to reports, on the night of January 27, 1976, 22-year-old Kyle Clinkscales left his home in LaGrange, Georgia after a bartending shift, expecting to make the 35-mile drive back to Auburn University in Alabama at the end of his winter break. However, neither he nor his white Ford Pinto were ever seen again. Based on the nature of the 22-year-old's sudden disappearance, eventually police began to suspect that he had been murdered. Though years of exhaustive searches along Kyle's route back to school turned up nothing, neither his family nor investigators gave up hope. Many leads were chased down over the years, eventually leading to a prime suspect in Kyle's disappearance, a man named Ray Hyde. Detectives theorized that Hyde might have killed Kyle because he overheard something about him hiding and stealing cars. Hyde owned a salvage yard in the area and was convicted of stealing cars a short time after Kyle went missing. This theory was later expanded on further when a man named Jimmy Earl Jones, an associate of Hyde's, confessed to moving Kyle's body after his death. However, multiple searches of Hyde's salvage yard turned up nothing, and he died in 2001. Jones ended up spending time in prison for making false statements to police in 2005 and was released in 2013. Finally, this week, on December 7th, police near the town of Lafayette, Alabama, received a call about a car that appeared to be submerged in an unnamed creek off of County Road 83. When officers arrived at the scene and recovered the vehicle, it turned out to be an older model Ford Pinto with a 1976 Georgia tag and a Troup County decal. When authorities in Troup County were contacted, this information plus the vehicle's VIN number were used to confirm that it indeed belonged to Kyle Clinkscales. Though few additional details have been reported at the time of this recording, it said that inside the Pinto, investigators found a wallet, ID card, and credit cards belonging to Kyle, along with some bones. Those bones are currently being examined to see if they can be confirmed as Kyle's remains. While this week's discovery certainly is an exciting development in this 45-year-old cold case, unfortunately, even if the remains are confirmed as Kyle's, we may never know the full story about what happened to him. Though some now believe his death may have been an accident, many others, including those who have worked the case for years, remain convinced that Kyle was murdered. Sadly, neither of Kyle's parents lived long enough to witness the recovery of their son's vehicle and suspected remains. Kyle's father, John, passed away in 2007, while his mother, Louise, died earlier this year. That's it for this edition of Crimes of the Week. If you enjoyed our video, don't forget to like and subscribe to Crime Zone for more true crime content like this, making sure to hit the notification bell to stay up to date with our latest releases. Thank you for watching.